evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Johnnie Geathers, and welcome to my presentation called The Life of a Social Worker. Next slide.
Let me get my cursor.
All right, so my name is Johnnie Geathers. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm a mental health therapist that works for Hand-in-Hand Counseling Services, which is a private practice in Penn Hills. I provide individual and group therapy for children all the way into adulthood. Right now in the practice, I actually helped launch the Teen Summit group, which actually got launched last year, where we work with teens from the ages of 13 to 18, going through different social skill sets and different aspects of life. And then recently, earlier this year, the practice actually launched an adult trauma program called SIDE, and I actually help out with their creative expressions group with that. With me, I have a YouTube channel called JG on Fridays. I actually launched that during the height of the pandemic. During that time of the pandemic, I had got furloughed from my job, and I was just sure, like, I still want to help people, until God put it in my head to do YouTube. So before I even got into YouTube, I just started doing videos on social media, just like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then my mom actually was like, hey, you should just get a YouTube channel. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do a YouTube channel, because I don't want it to be like somewhere where I'm like, all right, trying to get monetized. I just want to be able to give out information to help people during this time. But 2 years later, I ended up making a YouTube channel, and it's been cool. I still blast everything on my social media platforms. And what I do on there is that I talk about different topics, and I provide coping skills. And also, I really let people like share, like, if they have like any topics that they want me to talk about. And there have been some people that reach out to me and say, hey, Johnny, can you talk about this? And I let them, I do those topics, and I give them shout outs. But I don't say their names directly, because I want them to keep it, confidential and everything like that. But once I say what the topic is, they already know that it's their topic and such. With them looking at, with some individuals that actually checked out my videos, some of them actually reached out to me and say, hey, thank you for doing this, because you actually helped me to go to therapy and stuff. So I looked at it as a way of saying that, okay, therapy is not just the typical norm, it's other different ways of therapy and such. I have done a lot of different speaking engagements, like I'm here right now, and also I have published articles. So I have 6 articles that have been published in Helpful Living magazine, which is a magazine that was launched by a good friend of mine in Maryland, and everything. My bachelor's degree is in Human Development and Family Studies. Got that from Penn State, and then I got my master's here at Pitt. So I got my bachelor's in 2011, and then got my master's in social work in 2013. I was direct practice, and I had a certificate in children, youth, and families. All right, next one. So where did it all begin? Do y'all want to take a guess where did it all begin for me? Take a guess. I'll take a guess. There's no wrong answers. What do y'all think? Come on. Just throw something out there. Where do y'all think it all began for me?
This picture is very, like, maybe not in the rural area. Like somewhere in school.
You think somewhere it started in school?
Like your career. You mean your interest?
Yeah, so where did it all begin for me? Where did my journey started? Because my passion is helping people, so where do y'all think it all started from? Did it start when I was in college? Did it start when I was a teenager? Take a guess. Go ahead.
I'll guess college.
Nope. Nah, I didn't start there. Go ahead.
Middle school?
Go up a little bit higher. Go ahead.
High school.
So it started in high school. Next slide. So, it started when I was 15. When I was 15 years old, I grew up in Philadelphia. I had my first volunteer experience working at Pennsylvania Hospital, which is the most popular known hospital in downtown Philadelphia. I was a candy striper. What a candy striper was that we actually assist the nurses and the doctors to make sure the patients are getting their needs met. So make sure that they have the snacks, food, playing games with them, and such. And I loved it because we always get free food and stuff with the meals fights and everything. But I just love the aspect of helping people. And from there, it shifted from there and went into me helping out at the Ronald McDonald House in Philadelphia, which still to this day, I actually help out with that with my fraternity brothers. I am a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Say that slower.
Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. So, but yeah, so going into working in the hospital setting and also volunteering at Ronald McDonald House and everything, it made me have that love of wanting to help people. Then, when I got into college at Penn State, when I got into college at Penn State, that's where I started to figure out, okay, do I really want to do this? Because originally, my first mind was I wanted to be a pediatrician. Because I've always been around the hospital, always been around working with adults, always been around working with kids, and everything. And I was like, do I really want to stay in school for a long time and everything? Because I know you got to go through medical school and all those things. I was like, I want to be in school forever. And such. So the shift of the career journey actually happened during my junior, I'll say like my late junior year, senior year of college. When it was getting to the point of getting ready to prepare for graduation and everything, one of my fraternity brothers that actually got his master's here told me about social work, and I said, I don't even know what that is. So I actually had to do my own research to figure out what social work is all about, because we always used to hear the stigma of social work is, oh, CYF. Oh, this, that, and the third, until I actually did my own type of research to see that, okay, social work is broad. You can do whatever you want, really, with the degree. So once I kind of like had in my head to say, all right, I actually want to go to grad school, I applied to a few schools. Pitt was my number one choice, and I got, easily got admitted and everything. But the good thing about it all was when I got admitted, I did get the acceptance letter, but also I had got a direct phone call. I had got a direct phone call at the time by the the assistant director of admissions at the time. So he called me and said, Johnny, congratulations, you got into the program, but also I got to tell you something else. And I said, what's something else? And he said, I'm your fraternity brother too. And I said, what? And everything. So we, exchanged our information and everything. And he said, don't feel like you got in because of you being in an organization, but just because of your work and everything that you have done, and also with academic wise and everything too. So when I had came into Pitt, I was a blue chip scholar. They don't actually have the blue chip program no more. But what the blue chip scholar was where we was most like minority students that got selected to come into the program. We actually did like an actual weekend, a blue chip weekend, where they brought us here for a weekend. We stayed across the street in the hotel. The school paid for it, everything, and we actually got to tour the campus and check out some of the classes, meet some of the professors and everything before we made a decision on if we wanted to come. So once I made the decision on wanting to come here, I was automatically a blue chip scholar student. And what that was that as long as I maintain my grades, that I'll be in good standing. But also on top of that, I was getting a monthly stipend. So I say, hey, all I gotta do is do good at school and get paid every month. For doing good, I'm good. So that's how it was. Also with the shift of that happening, what kind of, and which lead into the grad school experiences, I think what shaped me into being a therapist to this day were my field placements. My first year, I was working at the Homewood YMCA. I was working with teenagers in their after school program. And then my second year field placement was with Mercy Behavioral Health on the South Side in their partial hospitalization program. I think my second year internship was the one that got me into being interested in therapy, because my actual supervisor at that time allowed me to actually facilitate groups and even help out with the individual sessions with those adults. And that kind of got me comfortable to be like, you know what, I actually like doing this and everything, and I love this, this work and stuff. So that's where it all began. So originally, wanted to be a pediatrician, shifted into now going into social work. Next slide. So now I'm gonna tell you about life after grad school. Even though I already said that I, ended up doing therapy and everything. But I want to tell you a little bit of something before I give you like my history about the different jobs I was at. So 2 weeks before graduation, my mom, my dad, and my grandfather, they all asked me, "Are you moving back home to Philadelphia?" I said no. And the reason why I said no, because I was already making a name for myself here based on the stuff I was doing with the school, but also the internships, but then also the stuff I do with my fraternity, because we do a lot of community service work and everything, and partnerships and collaborations. So I was like, I don't want to leave something that I kind of already started and everything. So I took it upon myself, and I don't know if y'all are all on Facebook, but there is a Facebook group called University of Pittsburgh MSW students. So that's like current students and alum that's on that group. And what I did was that I just typed in a question on there and say, "Are there any jobs hiring?" And surprisingly, Dr. Marcus Poindexter reached out to me and said, "Hey, apply to Community Empowerment Association." So I applied to them, did the interview, and after that, got hired.
What would you call that?
Huh?
What would you call that for social work? What was going on? What term would you use?
For that?
Why did you go into that Facebook group? What was your purpose? What were you trying to do?
So my purpose was to try to stay here. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to move back home.
Yeah.
And everything. And what that led me to do is just basically network.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a different platform for networking.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So basically networked on there. Also in that group as well, we always just be in the group that asks about, did y'all take this class? Did y'all know about this professor and all these different things? But yeah, but when Marcus had told me to go to community empowerment, did an interview and everything, and then I got hired. So 2 weeks after graduation, I started working. So I told my mom and my grandfather, they was like, "You coming back?" I was like, "Nope," because I got a job. So I'm staying here and everything, which leads to the next slide. So my first job was at Community Empowerment Association. I was actually a therapist right in community empowerment, which is in Homewood, the Homewood area. Homewood is a neighborhood which is predominantly African American. What I was doing with community empowerment, I was actually helping out within their partial after school program, but then also I was helping out doing individual and group therapy for the after school program as well. But also during the day, I used to go to the schools and do school visits, home visits, and different things of that nature. So I was able to have a good connection with Pittsburgh Public Schools and such, which leads into my second one, which is Family Links. So Family Links, I worked as a mental health therapist there, but also with them, I was part of their therapeutic support classroom. The therapeutic support classroom program was a program that was contracted with Pittsburgh Public Schools, where they had different emotional support classrooms in the schools. So the school that I was placed in was Pittsburgh Carmel, which is in the Brookline neighborhood of Pittsburgh, and I was working with the kids between the grades of 1st to 3rd grade. So I was doing individual and group therapy with them. Also being able to sit in meetings such as like IEP meetings, parent-teacher conferences, and those different things. With Community Empowerment, I've been with them for like 3.5 years. Family Links, I've been with them for 6 years. My last year with Family Links was in 2023, May of 2023 to be exact, because there was a lot of different things that were changing and such. Community psychiatric centers, that was one of my part-time jobs, which was more of like a private practice setting in Monroeville, and I was doing individual therapy with kids and teenagers. And then currently to this day, I'm in hand-to-hand counseling services. I started part-time with them in 2021 when I had got my license, and then from there, which made the shift from Family Links to hand-to-hand. Once I had left with Family Links, I ended up coming full-time with hand-to-hand, and now I'm doing a lot of work with them. Next slide. All right, so question for y'all: are y'all undergrad or grad? Y'all got undergrad. So, are any of y'all thinking about getting y'all MSW? A little bit. All right, so let me tell y'all this. So if you get your MSW, regardless of where you get it from, if you get it from here or anywhere, the classes, what the professors will tell you that, yeah, it's best to get your license. It's best to get your license. And the reason why it's best to get your license is because it opens so many doors for different opportunities and different things. And I'm gonna tell you a story about my journey of getting my license. I know y'all see that number said 9 times. Yeah, I took the exam 9 times. And I'm gonna give y'all the backstory about that. So, a year after graduation, some of my classmates actually took their LSW licensing exam while we were still in school, and some of them was already getting their license while we was preparing to graduate. But me and a friend of mine, we actually started studying the year after. So we started studying in 2014. We took the test at the same time. I missed it by 10 points. I was like, oh my goodness, missed by 10 points. And each time you failed the exam, you gotta wait like 3 months. Which is like the state board rule. You gotta wait 3 months to try to take the exam again. If your eligibility period is over, then you gotta redo the application process all over again and then pay another fee for that. So before you even take the test, you gotta fill out the application, pay a fee, and then the state board has to approve you. Once the state board approves you, they'll say, okay, you got from this time to this time to try to take your test. I mean everything. But for me, like I said, I had to take the test 9 times. Each time I took it, I kept getting closer and closer and closer. There was a part like after like my 3rd, 4th time when I failed it, I just started questioning myself. I said, is it meant for me to be in social work? Is it meant for me to be in this field? Even though I was already doing the work, fresh out of grad school. I was 23 years old coming out of grad school, doing therapy and everything. So I was just beating myself up, and I ended up having to go to therapy myself and everything. Bobby Simmons, who's not here no more, he used to run the career services, center in this building, and we used to do boot camps. We used to do weekend boot camps. We used to come into that career center, get on that computer, do the practice questions and everything. When an ASW comes here and they do their licensure prep, they used to do that on Saturdays. I used to come there as well, and everything. But what led me to passing was one of the owners of the practice I work at right now. Her name is Sharice Nance, and she's also alum here as well. She had told me, she's like, you should try this program, and this program is called the Therapist Development Center. It's like an online program where you do it at your own pace, and it kind of reminded me just like school, where you do it at your own pace, but also it gives you practice questions. You get to print out materials and everything to study. And when I went through the program and everything, I passed it. I hit it right on the mark and stuff. So I wanted to yell as soon as I saw the word pass, because they'll tell you right then and there if you pass or fail, because it's on the computer. So when I saw the word pass, I wanted to yell, but I was like, I can't yell in this room. So once I got in the car, I called my mom. I said, Mom, I passed. She's like, good, because I don't want to hear you complaining no more. Because that's what she normally would do. She would say, why are you complaining? Why you keep complaining? But I say, no, I passed it and stuff. And then that's when Sharice said, you got your license, you want to come join the private practice? And I said, yeah, and I did it. Basically, when I say use different avenues, like I said, just basically going to like different programs, workshops, Therapist Development Center, and everything. But what I want to tell you what's important is that perseverance is key. Most people would have said, oh, Johnny, you should have gave up when you took it the 3rd time. And I was like, no, that's not me. If I want to get something, I'll go at it and everything. So I already had it in my mindset of why I wanted to get my license to begin with. Because my main goal of it overall is to get my clinical license. And in order for you to get your clinical license, you gotta get your basic license first, and everything. So with having this license, you have to have it for 2 years, and within the 2 years, you gotta be able to get your clinical hours and your supervision hours. The clinical hours you have to have is 3,000, and then your supervision hours is 150. Out of the 150 supervision hours, 75 of it has to be individual. So for me, I'm actually going through individual and group therapy individual and group supervision within the practice and everything. So everything is in-house with me. Some people don't have that way where they gotta actually go to find an actual supervisor, which actually has they LCSW to be able to provide supervision, and they gotta come out of pocket and pay. Luckily, I didn't have to do that because everything is in house within the practice, and everything. But once you get those 3,000 hours and the supervision hours, then you could go apply for the LCSW, and then you gotta take another test again to do it. So I'm almost done with mine. So hopefully, Lord willing, I'll get it by by that time, and just get it at one time instead of 9 and everything. Next slide.
Well, I'm sure you got this one. You'll get the other.
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna use the Therapist Development Center again. I'm gonna use it again.
And where is that at?
So it's an online program. So when y'all go online, just type in tdc.com, I believe, and it'll pop up, and it'll give you a breakdown of like how much it costs and everything too. Also, on top of that, what I want y'all to know as well when it comes to licensing, be mindful of where you take your exam and everything, because say for example, say if my license is here in PA, say if I'm want to move to California probably would not let me transfer my license over to them. I might have to take another test again. So you just gotta be mindful of what each state's policies and regulations are when it comes to licensing, and seeing if you're able to transfer your license to another state if you by any chance move in.
You said it's TEC?
TDC.
TDC.
Mm-hmm. TDC. Yep.
Want me to go to the next one?
Yep, next slide. So, challenges in social work. So, the first thing is knowing your place and your role. When you get into the field, you automatically want to feel like you want to help everybody, you want to save everybody. But there are some moments where you can't just do it all the time. I can tell you a story for me. I had suffered 3 seizures in my sleep in 2018 because I was running around. Not just because of work, but just me running around all the time. And I had to learn, I had to pace myself and everything. And with knowing your place and knowing your role, it's more so being able to have boundaries in the things that you do, especially in this work environment, because everybody as soon as you connect with different clients and everything, they automatically feel like, oh, you gotta help them all the time. But you got your own boundaries within yourself, so you shouldn't pick up the phone at the work hours. You shouldn't have to deal with a crisis if you're off the clock. So most of the times I would have to remind my clients hey, I'm not on the clock. Y'all have y'all crisis plan. Y'all have resolved the call and everything. Y'all can go to them. Can't come to me all the time. So there's some moments you have to remind them about having your boundaries and knowing your place and knowing your role. That's why it's important to know your place and know your role, because everybody feels like, oh, with you being a social worker or you being a therapist, you gotta help everybody. Also, on top of that, with your friends too, your friends and family members, automatically they'll say, oh, well, Johnny over here is a therapist, go talk to him. No, I don't want to hear nobody's problems when I'm off the clock. Especially my family and friends, I do not want to do that. So that's why you gotta know your place and your role. Which goes to the second thing, boundaries. Make sure that you have good boundaries and stick with it. Don't let nobody say, oh, just do it one time for me. Stick to your boundaries. Feelings tied to your profession. So there are some moments that you might have some transference and counter-transference, where you might have an inkling where you might have a very, very close connection with a client, and whenever they go through something, you might feel some kind of way about it because it kind of stuck with you, or it kind of stuck to something that you're related to. You gotta be mindful of that, because you gotta be able to say that, all right, I'm only helping the client for this particular reason and everything, and not really get so swarmed up into the aspect of relationship. Which relationship is important, because that's how you're supposed to do the work. You're supposed to start off by building a relationship, but you don't want to get to that point where you're really stuck into it, where you might have some feelings over it. Because that happened to me in my beginning stages of in this field, where I had really deep feelings for a particular individual, and I know I couldn't help them in that midst of it all because of boundaries, policies, rules, and those different things. And then financial gain. So everybody always say that, oh, social workers don't make that much money and all that stuff, which is the stigma of it all and everything. But there's always ways that you can make money. With me doing a lot of different speaking engagements, there's some speaking engagements I get paid for, and I'm like, I love it, and everything. There's other opportunities where you can collaborate with other social workers and say, hey, let's do this together, and you can charge people for that, and everything. So there's a lot of different avenues of how to make money to combat the stigma of saying that, oh, social workers don't make enough. And also within your jobs too, that you get, be mindful of what they offer. If you know what your worth is, tell them like, nah, I don't want that. Give me this and everything. And that leads to that aspect of you having to negotiate what you're worth. Next slide. All right, some reminders to take. First reminder, you were chosen to be in this field. So later on, when you get into the career space, go ahead.
So this is a group of mixed concentrations. Not
Okay.
all of them are social workers, but just so you know.
Okay, but yeah, so
Either way, they're still chosen.
yeah, so just overall, you're here because you were chosen to do this. You were chosen to do this work. Another reminder, take care of yourself first. So, like I said, you might get consumed in the different things in the work area, but always be mindful of taking care of yourself. The third thing, know that your work will speak for itself. So there's might be some moments where you might feel like, I'm not doing enough, or this is not, working for me. I know for me now, my work speaks for itself. As soon as I come in a room, I say my name, they're like, oh, I know you. I just watched your video the other day. Or I know you because I saw you spoke at this event or that event. So let your work speak for itself. And then also continue to be the change agent you see for others. So always know your why. Know why you chose this path. Know why you wanted to do this. And if you have a moment where you get stuck, ask yourself, all right, why am I here? And once you answer that question and say, okay, I know why, keep pushing. Now, if you feel like, all right, I don't know why I'm here or I'm stuck, reevaluate yourself. Reevaluate and look at the different things within yourself. All right, next slide. So, I'm gonna have y'all act as therapists today. I got 2 case studies. So the first one, a patient complains of sleeplessness, loss of appetite, feeling hopeless, general apathy. To diagnose, a social worker will most need to know A, medications the client is taking, B, family history of depression, C, how long the symptoms have persisted, or D, if the patient lives alone. I'm gonna have y'all take some time. And if need be, I'll read it again. A patient complains of sleeplessness, loss of appetite, feeling hopeless, general apathy. To help diagnose, a social worker would most need to know A, the medications the client is taking, B, the family history of depression, C, how long the symptoms have persisted, or D, if the patient lives alone. What y'all think?
I feel like all these things are really important, but to rule out like the most necessary thing first, I think to understand what medications would be.
Okay, what made you choose that one?
I mean, if there's like a certain med change that could cause sleeplessness or loss of appetite, like there's so many different types of medications, and like every commercial has a million side effects. And then I was kind of stuck in between how long the symptoms have persisted, because diagnostically that's really important, but I feel like whenever you go to, I mean, no, you know what I mean?
I mean, see, you get, cause that's what I did too. When we took the exam, I was like, I'm second guessing myself.
So Adam had his.
Yeah, and I saw Georgia too.
I think the answer is D, because the D is more issue about people's those mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
But for ABCs, it's kind of like the issues that doctors may care about.
Okay.
I think it's C because of what she said within like the whatever the book is called, the DS something. It's like
Yeah.
DSM. Yeah,
DSM.
that's like the criteria for all of them.
Okay.
It's like,
What you think?
I was gonna say medications was probably the easiest to change immediately.
Okay.
That is the problem.
Anyone else want to take a stab at it? Alright.
I think it's C.
Alright, so go to the next slide to show the answer.
I think I know it. So.
Alright, the answer is C. How long the symptoms have persisted. So, in the question, it didn't really give how long it lasted, how long the person is going through it. So you always got to ask how long the symptoms have persisted, how long did it last, which will lead into saying that, okay, is medication playing a factor of it? Is there other things that's playing a factor in it? So you always got to see how long it lasts first. Alright, next one.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So all of those were correct.
Yeah.
But where it gets tricky is because we start to overthink it. And so we always want to enter to a space as if we know nothing about this person. So we wouldn't know anything about medication if it's our first encounter with this person. So we're always going to start with the introduction of how long have you been experiencing this? And then from there we would move to the next level of have you taken any medication? Have you changed any medication? With that, then we would go down to, do you live alone? Because we're concerned about safety issues, especially with them feeling depressed and I'm forgetting what the other, let me go. So we're gonna go back here.
Yep.
So if there is history of the family, if there's family history, then we're gonna say, do you live alone? Because if they live alone, after that would follow, do they feel like they're gonna harm themselves? We come up with a safety plan, or we may have to get them into a treatment plan and get them into something more immediate. So all of them are correct, but we're always going to start off with a first step of saying, let me learn about you before we try to change anything, because we don't know that yet when we're first encountering something.
Right.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Right.
So how did I do?
You did good.
Uh-huh. All right, so we moving on?
Yep, to the next one. Case study 2. A 28-year-old client with a long-standing history of drug use is referred to a social worker by a concerned relative. In the assessment interview, the client tells the social worker about frequent cocaine use. The social worker should first, A, conduct a family interview to evaluate the family's concern, B, begin treatment focused on the reasoning for drug abuse, C, refer the client to a substance abuse program, or D, evaluate the client's motivation for change. Alright, I'm gonna read it one more time. A 28-year-old client with a long-standing history of drug use is referred to a social worker by a concerned relative. In the assessment interview, the client tells the social worker about frequent cocaine use. The social worker should first, A, conduct a family interview to evaluate the family's concerns, B, begin treatment focusing on the reason for drug abuse, C, refer the client to a substance abuse program, or D, evaluate the client's motivation for change. You got some time to think on
There's
it.
a hand here.
Oh, we already?
I was gonna say D because in order to help the client, they have to want to be helped. So it doesn't matter like what their relatives are saying or like what treatment you give them. Like they're not gonna get better unless they want to get better. So then you could like reevaluate the plan if they don't want to get better and see how you can help them like want to get better.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I was gonna say A because it was brought to the attention by the concerned relative. So first you wanna like ask the relative about like their motivation and like the drug habit before you like do anything from B, C, or D.
Anyone else?
Okay.
Alright.
So I'm going to say that it's C, only because of the work that I know. but I'm saying C because although the family has come with the concern, it's important that we listen to the individual who needs the help. And so within this scenario, we hear the client expressing the struggles that they have. And so therefore, it doesn't matter who has come with the concern. Once the client is involved, we go with what the client most likely needs for an immediate support. So I'm just gonna leave it right there for a while.
Alright. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I feel like I could like argue that with D in evaluating the client's motivation for change, because there's so many different ways to confront drug use, such as abstinence or harm reduction or anything like that. Like the approach you take can, I think, really change the narrative of how much they are willing to do.
So many times in social work, the motivation for change is something that is evaluated after you make the referral. As a social worker, you're making the referral because at that time they're saying, I do need help. So that's the motivation alone, the fact that they are sharing with you like, hey, I have this problem, right? So that alone is saying to you, I want help, and that's a motivation. So we want to get on that right away. And then once they are actually in a treatment center, you circle back and you evaluate, and that's when they become part of your case. Does that make sense? So you definitely can overthink it and like put yourself in their shoes, because we have encountered people like that, like, you know, who have those battles. But as a social worker, you want to address the more immediate concern. Just like if someone comes and they say, my friend, or I need food. What's the motivation? They need food, and we're going to get them something right now. So they haven't quite gone through that process yet, but in social work, we're always looking at the immediate, like, okay.
Yeah.
And then we reevaluate after that process has started.
Alright, so
This is why people get things wrong on the test, because it's like all of them are fitting, but what are we going to do first, and then what would happen second, third? It's really tricky.
Yeah. And what is taught as well, and I don't know if y'all have learned about it yet in the class, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So you always gotta focus on using that to help you out with answering the questions as well. So the answer to this one is C, refer the client to a substance abuse program. The reason why it is C, because you can't really do work with that client because they already told you automatically what they want, which is that they had excessive cocaine use. So it would be best to refer them to a facility or a program that will actually help them to get through it before they even go into seeking therapy and everything. Because if they come to you for therapy after the intake and you know that they already doing drug use and everything like that, everything is not gonna stick to them. So it's like, okay, it's a lost cause. You're gonna put so much effort into doing the work, but they're still using. So you gotta get used to getting them, getting their stuff taken care of first before you even do the direct work with them and stuff.
And because we missed this, we want to make sure we're clear on this. So you address the immediate need, the urgent need. Once you make the referral, once that individual is in the treatment plan, the treatment process, then whoever is working with that individual one-on-one, they're going to assess the motivation. They're going to assess what else needs to be added to the treatment plan to ensure that there is going to be a successful outcome for what their goals are. Are they meeting their benchmarks? Are they falling short? What is causing that? So that's a whole caseload process.
Yep. All right, next slide.
Me and Johnnie are partners.
All right, so I'm gonna do an exercise with y'all, and I normally do this with my clients, all of them, even the adults. They love it. So this is called rainbow deep breathing. This is a grounding exercise that helps individuals when they go through like different moments of stress, anxiety, worriedness, and what it is that it helps you to just process, different things, but also bring yourself back into a present moment, bring yourself back into a, current reality. So what I want y'all to do first is close your eyes. Make sure you're comfortable. And then you're just gonna listen to what I'm gonna say. So, I'm gonna have y'all take some deep breaths, and then I'm gonna say a color. And then once I say a color, think about the first thing that comes to your mind when I say that color. All right? So, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. I want you to think of something that is red. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time, think of something that is red. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now on the count of 10, I'm going to have you open your eyes, and then I'm going to have you share what came to your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Open your eyes. All right. Anyone want to share what's the first thing that came to the mind for the color red? Anyone can answer. Go ahead.
A stop sign.
A stop sign, okay.
He is an apple.
Huh?
An apple.
An apple, okay. Anyone else want to share? Come on, y'all, don't be scared. Don't be scared.
I also did an apple.
You did apple too? Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share for red? Come on, y'all. Go ahead.
I did a fire truck.
Fire truck. All right. All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Roses.
Roses. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go on to the next color. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. This time I want you to think of something that is yellow. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time, think of something that is yellow. Breathe in. Breathe out. On the count of 10, I'm going to have you open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Open your eyes. What was the first thing that came to your mind for yellow?
Butter.
Butter? All right.
A banana.
A banana? All right. Go ahead.
The sun.
The sun? All right. Anyone else for yellow?
It's a pineapple.
Pineapple? Okay. Anyone else for yellow?
Highlight.
You said highlighter? Okay. Okay. All right. We're going to go on to the next color. Close your eyes. Breathe in. breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. This time I want you to think of something that is orange and not the fruit. Because I know y'all gonna make say fruit orange. Breathe in, think of something else. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time, think of something that is orange and not the fruit. Breathe in. Breathe out. On the count of 10, I'm gonna have you open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Open your eyes. What did y'all thought of that was orange and not the fruit?
Traffic cone.
A traffic cone, all right. Okay. Anyone else? For orange?
A pumpkin.
A pumpkin, all right.
Me when I'm hunting.
Huh?
Me when I'm hunting.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else for orange? For orange. All right. On to the next one. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out.